Welcome to another edition of our Job Search Toolkit. Today we're focusing on writing a cover letter. So we're going to try to give you what you need to know for writing an effective legal cover letter, all in the time it used to take to sit through a commercial break for your favorite non-streaming show. This presentation supplements our online resource, Writing a Legal Cover Letter, available in the Job Search Toolkit on the Careers website. Let's start with a little bit of a mindset shift about the cover letter. Let's try to go into the exercise ready to make your case. Some students cringe at having to write the letter, thinking that it's usually a rote exercise or merely a narrative restatement of the resume. We encourage you to reframe your thinking on this. Try to see the cover letter as a piece of advocacy. You're telling the reader why you make sense as a hire. In this world, the resume is the factual record, and the cover letter is the brief that you're writing to illuminate that record for the benefit of the decision maker. This is where you get to use examples to make your experiences come alive. Additionally, step back first and consider the raw materials you're working with. To start down the road of making your case, you need to understand two things. What type of work is the employer calling on you to do? And how do your experiences and interests match the employer's needs? Not every employer wants the same thing out of a candidate. For instance, a judicial internship cover letter would likely highlight legal research and writing ability, because that's what an intern would be called on to do. On the other hand, a legal aid position may value the ability to communicate quickly and effectively with people from a range of backgrounds. These can be different skill sets. So in addition to wanting to know about your motivations for the job, legal employers will want to see that your skill set is a match for them. The self-assessment worksheets on our website can help with uncovering your unique menu of motivations, interests, and skills. In thinking about the goals for the cover letter, let's try to see it as a concise way to make the case for your candidacy. You're telling the reader how your skills, background, and motivations are a match for the work that they do. So approach the letter aiming to tell the reader two fundamental things. One, how you can help them. Put differently, what your skills, interests, and motivations can do to help them. And two, how they can help you. Put differently, why working for that particular employer is interesting and fits into your plan. At the end of the day, that's it. Let's dive in to consider how we can make these goals easier to achieve. Use the format and organization of the letter to make as compelling a case as possible. There are several effective ways to organize it. We recommend sticking to a 4-paragraph framework. Your opening paragraph introduces you to the reader and gives them a high-level explanation for why you're writing. The second paragraph tells the reader how you can help them. It describes relevant skills and interests and explains your motivations for contributing. The third paragraph speaks specifically to the employer you're writing to, citing features of their work that draw you to it. And the last paragraph closes the letter by noting what you're including and mentioning availability to meet. Be sure to format the letter professionally throughout. Use the cover letter guide as a reference here. Let's dive a little bit deeper into each. For the opening paragraph, you want to hook your busy reader, urging them to stop and pay attention to your case. To do so, get your strongest information in the first line where possible. Generally, this includes the fact that you go to a great law school. So instead of restating your name, which is unneeded given that you're including your name at the beginning and end of the letter, start by saying what year you are at Georgetown. You might also front-load any relevant experience or knowledge. One else could draw on related pre-law experience. An upper division student might cite law school activities or experiential learning to grab the reader's attention. Once the reader is drawn in, mention what position you're applying for. Then you can note any strong connections to the employer to drive home your interest and fit. This can include geographic ties, personal connections you've made, and/or long-standing career goals and interests that would make you a good candidate. When you think about the second paragraph, remember that here you're trying to make the case for how you can help. Therefore, you don't have to mirror the structure of your resume. Start the paragraph with a strong topic sentence that gives an overview of the skills and interests you're about to discuss in the remainder of the paragraph. Resist the urge here to simply do a chronological retelling of your resume if that's not the most effective structure. Instead, group your skills and interests according to what the employer wants to see, putting your richest evidence high in the paragraph. Expand on points in your resume to make them come alive. If you're just starting your law school career or don't have a wealth of prior experience, this paragraph can be aspirational. In this case, you'd refer to any skills you may have started to develop and speak to why and how you want to develop them further. But let's pause on that note. You might consider if it's more impactful for you to put the skills after the interests in your structure. Some students do bring direct relevant experience and their skill set easily lines up. For others, particularly 1Ls, the strength of their desire outweighs their skills, which may still be transferable but don't have as much punch. So you can go either way here based on your background and the employer's needs. Looking at that interest paragraph, you should use this to speak to your interest in that specific employer. You don't have to uncover arcane details about the employer, but the employer should have a sense that you're writing to them specifically. This paragraph can draw on your motivations for doing the type of work you're applying for, connecting those motivations to features of the employer and their goals. And there's an opportunity here to tell the story of how your interest was sparked. You might talk about the practice area, the training and development available, the clients and/or issues you'd be working with, or the broader impact of the work you'd be doing. Research for this content might include the organization's website, third-party sites, especially for law firms, and conversations with students and attorneys. Moving on to the closing paragraph, this is fairly boilerplate. Note first what documents you're enclosing with the letter. If the job posting does not specify which documents those are, include your resume as a default. Then report when you're available for an interview. And here's a tip, try to be generally available. If you'll be in the employer's region at a given time, tell them. Sometimes in-person meetings are preferred. Before closing out, a few best practices tips to think about. Make sure you proofread. Everything you submit to an employer will be scrutinized, and typos undermine the impact of your message. Treat the cover letter as your first writing sample. Personalize the note. Employers may seem the same to you, but those working there often think there are features that set them apart. Do the digging to make the letter specific, and make sure you address it to a specific person. If the listing doesn't provide that information, you can place an anonymous call to the employer to inquire. Be consistent. Make sure your typeface, abbreviations, and formatting are consistent across your cover letter, resume, and other materials being submitted. Always send out a PDF version to employers, not a Word version or Google Doc. And be sure to include identifying information in the file name. Do keep it to one page unless you're invited to do otherwise. And finally, there's no need to sign the hard copy of a letter. Just close the letter and type your name. This can all be done digitally. So that's it, a pretty quick primer on how to write the cover letter. As always, your OPICS and OCS advisors are happy to help, so feel free to email us or drop in, and we can give you edits and comments to the letter. Happy cover letter writing.